Welcome to the Windsurfing podcast every Wednesday without fail. Apart from this Wednesday, because we're now Thursday, but we are still here. We were promising you a Bernd Rodiger podcast, but we've put that on hold because the slalom season is starting next week, pretty much a week today or a week on Tuesday or something like that. It's pretty close. It's going to kick off in Lake Garda. And we thought, we've already spoke to Mr. Becker, who is his first time on the PWA. If you haven't heard that podcast, I would listen to that. We're going to try and follow him throughout the year. You know, like I said, he's done a couple of silt events before, but he's going to do the full season this year. And we thought, okay, so we've got a newbie, you know, someone who's never done the full tour before. We need a tried and tested veteran. Now, veteran might be a strong word, but this next guy has been putting the work in over the years. And last year, he finally, I say finally, that shouldn't even be a finally, he got the world title. That is massive. Life has changed for him. He's fighting off the women. His girlfriend's going crazy. The money's just rolling in. And I thought we'd catch up with him to work out, you know, what's been going on over the winter since he's become world champion, and also ask him about this season and how, you know, he sees it playing out. Who are the players? Who are the guys coming through? Let's catch up with him. Maciek Rutkowski, obviously the man who usually does the podcast. Here he is. How are we going, world champ?
Just if the people didn't see me enough every week.
No,
I say that, but actually you've been holding down the fort with your live chats whenever I'm lazy to do a podcast. So yeah, but the Bernd one will be good.
For people who don't know, obviously Maciek usually does the normal podcast. I do the live podcast, and Maciek did Bernd Rodiger last week. How did it go down? Are we going to have a good podcast?
I think it's it was super fun. I really enjoy, talking to different English native speakers, because they all have their own, kind of culture. When you speak to a Brit, it's something, and when you speak to an American, it's something completely different. And Bernd's Hawaiian, so that's like American plus multiplied, so
he's
yeah,
got some
he
pretty
has
big words. So any of you non-native English speakers, you better get.
Yeah, and he has kind of these sides to him. Like, I love people. I'm like that as well. I'm kind of sometimes a bit all over the place, and he's like artsy, but at the same time super aggressive in the water, and at the same time like super stylish, but you know what I mean. So it's like it's interesting. It's interesting.
Okay,
sure.
So I will say that podcast, I can't guarantee when it's coming out, but it's in the bank, ready to be used. So stay tuned. Like I say, podcast should be every Wednesday. This one's a little bit late, but we're all good. So Maciek, you're world champion. You've been world champion for I don't know how many months now. Is it like 5 or 6 months? How has it been? Money been thrown at you? Living the dream?
It's been good. Obviously, it's it's the highest accolade in our sport. Something that I kind of been striving for years now. It's really hard to put a pin on it, whether it's since you started windsurfing, or since you started competing, or since you started competing on a high level, whatever. Money's better. But you feel like you have a window, and you really need to milk that window, because you never know. You never know what's gonna happen. You never know, what life's gonna throw at you. So if anything, I felt like in terms of money and media and sponsorships and all this kind of commercial stuff, let's say, call it the commercial stuff, it's more like a beginning than anything else. Like a beginning of a new chapter. But those things, what you realize, I hate to break your bubble, burst your bubble, whoever thought like these things change your life. Money and going on TV a few times and whatever doesn't change your life. You still hustling, you still love to windsurf, you still do it because you love it. I think without really loving it, it's impossible to achieve anything in the sport. And you still you still basically my life actually didn't change because I have a pretty solid like foundation of who I am and what I like to do. What changes are kind of the circumstances a little bit, but how I feel doesn't really
Are you feeling the pressure? Are you feeling the pressure this year? Obviously, season's kicking off next week in Lake Garda. Are you feeling the pressure? Is it like, the other years, yeah, you've been up there, but people have been going, oh, he could, make a podium. He's pushing hard. This year, they're like, he's world champion. I'm not being rude. The only way is down or to stay the same. You can't get better.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, I don't, the minute that I stopped measuring myself and my self-esteem by my results is the minute that I started doing well, actually. Okay. Because you just, there's certain things you kind of, it sucks to say this, but you kind of need to treat it like a job. And when you go home from your job, you forget about your job. You know what I mean? You don't. Okay. As I say, I'm not like that. I'm fighting to be more like that because I really, there were years and years when I would get fucking depressed after every single contest because obviously I wasn't doing so good, but this doesn't help. This actually is worse for you, So am I feeling pressure? For sure, a little bit, but I always felt pressure. And I think this year is just different. This year is more outside chatter, which I think is much easier to block out than your inner competitive fucker that wants to really, prove himself. I think that this year, if anything, I'm hoping for it to be, I'll tell you in 2 weeks, but I'm hoping for it to be no result pressure and being able to focus on the things that actually matter. And that's like being on the right gear, doing good starts. It's boring as fuck, but it's actually the way for me to perform. Is kind of just breaking it down and focusing on the process and letting the results come or not come or whatever. Because at the end of the day, if I do everything fucking great in Garda and somebody is just on fire and I don't win, somebody's like, and not faster and whatever, it's not something I can control. Then I take it to the next contest and see what I can improve, So I basically, because I had to overcome what I had to overcome all those years, I think I'm weirdly prepared now for this. And
but I kind of sorry, I was going to say there will be a target on your head. Maybe more than ever.
For sure, 100%. But I tend to like it. I tend to like high pressure situations. I feel I'm alive. If me and you race for 50th, you'd win 100%. And I like I like big stakes. This is what I kind of live for. And this is how you also try to spin the stress and the pressure that you feel before you start. That I actually this is because I care about it and it's something that I like to do. Yeah. So I'm not too worried, but for sure there is a few people here and there that I'd like to prove a few things.
Go on, elaborate on that. What do you mean? Who are we talking about here?
No, I mean, there's you win this thing.
I don't know. Tell me.
You win this thing that you're striving for years and years, and you're obviously over the moon. And some people are just not big enough to basically acknowledge and congratulate or whatever. And they, it's like, there's.
I want to know now. Are you talking about sailors? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's more like generally it's been it's funny how mixed you get the responses, and how a lot of people, I don't want to say because a lot of people gave me a lot of credit and were actually really truly happy for me. But then, some people pinpoint certain things in some interviews, or send you like, man, one brand manager, he sent me a text saying, congrats, you were the most consistent, and that's what matters when there's so little events. I mean,
like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, how is that a congratulations? You know what I mean? You know, like, yeah, another guy that works in the industry, he kind of, start making a fuss that I changed my foil after Croatia and that this shouldn't be allowed and whatever. So like, it's like,
okay,
you kind of realize you kind of realize that you can't please everyone.
Did you change your foil after Croatia?
I did, but Croatia was like a 2-star event.
Okay.
Which if you forced everybody to register gear there and use it throughout the season, then the people that wouldn't come would have an advantage, because they would have time to still still test and whatever. So whatever, doesn't matter. Okay. It's not. I don't want to nitpick. What I just want to say is that some people would pinpoint it was circumstantial. Some people would pinpoint that I didn't win an event, which I fucking really should have, because I like, now I would, having had that experience in Silt leading for 8 days and whatever, now I would probably win it. I didn't need much, Yeah. I just caved to the pressure,
Hey, but it's not about winning an event. It's about winning a title. And maybe the backhanded compliment is a compliment, because to be consistent in a year with not many events is even harder, I would say. Like, if you've got lots of events, you've got more chances to come back, do whatever. When you've got a smaller amount of events, you've got to be on it at every event.
And this is what and this is exactly what I said when I saw an interview with Matteo, saying that hopefully next year we have a fuller tour with more conditions and with like the best guy will win, he said, kind of, which he probably didn't aim it at me or whatever, and I agree with that 100%. But if anything, that suits me more. I'm not a specialist, I'm not a specialist in anything. I'm not if you say my name to anybody on tour, he will not tell you, oh, he's the fastest, or he's the best in flat water, or he's the best in high wind, or whatever. I'm not a specialist. So if anything, a well-rounded tour is good for me, and I'm really looking forward. I'm really looking forward. And there was a cool comment from Tomasz that said, seems like congratulations in Polish, which, Polish people are super envious by nature. So I understand that. But I don't want to throw shade at anything. You just asked me about pressure, and if I have to, if I feel like I'm not up for it or whatever, or if I feel lazy, I can think of a few people that just feel like they didn't acknowledge, and it's, it gives you a little bit of extra fire. It's just a mind game you play with yourself,
Okay, let's talk about preparations. Let's talk about the tour. What you've been doing over the winter. I know you've been in Tenerife, but maybe a few people don't. Tell me, gear, much changed? How you feeling? Foil, fin? There's a lot to talk about, really. And how do we go there? I think it's probably best, actually, to talk about what events we've got this year, because it is a bigger tour, isn't it? I mean, maybe just run through the events for guys who don't know, and what it should favor, fin or foil, in your opinion. Obviously, his opinion, we don't know.
Yeah, so we start in Garda, which is historically generally a light wind place, mostly foil. the three biggest sizes of sails. For me, it's 8.8, 7.7, 6.6. Those are pretty much the only sails I'm going to use there, most likely. Could be a freak occurrence, but I would be very, very surprised if you see anybody on fin there. You know, gusty wind, pure foiling event, flat water, high performance in a way where you'll see. I think it's quite easy to perform there. I think so. You'll see the level being very, very equal. I think it's going to be a dogfight, and I think it's going to be very tight racing. I think. We haven't raced there at PWA, but we've raced the 1 hour classic and stuff. So I think it's that type of event.
You comfortable there? You comfortable there? How you know, Lake Garda? How would you rate it? Out of 10, 10's like, this is my event, this is what I really want to do, and 1 is, oh my god, I hate these conditions. Where are you rating yourself in that?
Well, on one hand, these are not my conditions, because it's, as I said, it's everybody's conditions. You know what I mean? And if you had to pick a Garda body type, it would be the 2 meter, 110 kilo person. You know. But on the other hand, it's going to be close, which means it's up to racing, and when it's up to racing, it's open. It's you know, and I like anytime it's up to racing, I like my chances.
Expectations, what would you be happy with? Give me a result. What would you be happy with?
Honestly,
season, you know,
if I race well, I'm happy. You kick off the season and you just have no idea what the measuring stick is, you know. You have an idea from Tenerife, but nobody uses their best gear there. So yeah. And so
what do you think? You're thinking podium, happy, top 5, happy, or if you're 6, you're not happy.
For sure. If I finish 12, I'm not gonna be happy. That's sure, right? But if I do my best and I end up 4th, means fuck, I need to work harder. You know, I need to prepare better. You know what I mean? So. And if I don't race my best and finish 2nd, I'll be like, I'll take it, but I didn't race my best. You know what I mean? So I'm judging myself much more of my performance and break it down to how I started, how I jibed, how I tuned the gear in between the heats and stuff. You know, I judge myself much more on that.
Grown up. But it's good.
It was needed for me for my character, for my, you know, up and down, and for my all of that. You know, I need that kind of thing. You know, I needed to grow up a little bit. Then from Garda, we have a bit of a break, like 4 weeks or whatever, 5 weeks. I don't remember what it is. And then you have Pozo, which is the exact opposite, which is mostly a fin event, high winds, choppy, very technical. I've never actually raced there. 2009 was the last time the tour went there, and I started in 2010. So I actually never raced there, but I think there's nobody on tour that actually did. Maybe some of the older guys. You called me a veteran, which is fucking funny because I don't feel like a veteran. You know, I feel like I'm still improving. But actually, if you look at the actual data, one has to agree.
You have to. You've been doing it longer than a lot, you know.
Yeah. So then you go to Pozo, which is the exact opposite of Garda. So with those 2 events,
what's your smallest sail? Like, give me an idea of like Pozo, because I mean,
I'm gonna
Pozo, for anyone who doesn't know, you know, we could be talking 35 knots plus.
Yeah. So my smallest sail is a 5.9, which
really
back in the day we had 6.2 and 5.5. That was your 2 smallest fin sails, and I ended up the way the Challenger sails are. You have a lot of high end. You have. I remember you always making fun of me that I'm on a bigger sail than Albo. You know, but it's just the characteristics of the sail. So 5.9 is it's a kind of hybrid between the 6.2 and the 5.5 that we used to have. So it's actually a high wind sail. You know, I sailed with Antoine Castel with his 5.5 in Tarifa, and we were kind of evenly matched. You know, let's say so 5.9 smallest, then 6.8, and those are my two fin sails, and then we go to foil 5.5, 6.6, 7.7, 8.8. So 4 sails, 4 foil sails, 2 fin sails, and Pozo. Yeah, I expect to be on the 5.9 a lot. I hope that that there's windy flat days, because it's going to be like waves and slalom parallel. So whenever it's good for waves, the waves will probably have priority. Yeah. But as you know, there are some days where it's 4.0, 3.7 dead flat. So yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think after those two events, you have a pretty good barometer, you know, because you're going to have Garda with big and medium foil gear, and hopefully medium, because that's not given. The big is given in Garda, the medium is not given. And then Pozo with medium, with small foil gear and small fin gear. So then I think you'll know more or less who's in it, who has a good package, who's, you know.
Could someone like register something out the box, like very small, and profit from that in Pozo? Because it literally can blow itself flat in Pozo. So sometimes you get those really strong winds. I'm talking ridiculous. And actually, there's no waves, which for me, coming from somewhere like the UK, because if we get strong winds, we get waves because there's so much fetch, or there's at least a fetch. Whereas in Pozo, the wind starts so locally that it actually doesn't fetch up any waves sometimes. So you guys could be competing in some absolutely horrendous wind. I mean, horrendous and windy stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if somebody does only Pozo and Fuerte, they'll have an advantage to register a 5.0, a 5.5, you know, a smaller board, because my smallest board will be a 63 wide. Pozo, they used to, when it was 4.2 per event, so you could register 4 sails and 2 boards per event. For Pozo, they were registering a 54 and a 59.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. That seems big. Your kit seems big to me for Pozo. Yeah. It seems a shame that you have to register a certain kit, because I'm not sure that is that big a benefit. I think, me personally, I think for events like a Pozo event, there should be a wild card, like I don't know what you want to call it, like a wild card where you could register a small sail and a small board just for that event, because it is a freaky event.
I think you don't want it to go back to like custom days, you know. I'm basically alone. I'm basically like alone on the team with sales, for example. So I have to develop everything, and I can tell you already 6 sizes is a lot of work, you know. And by opening it up even, you know, slightly, you end up going that direction, and we'll see. Maybe after the first year we'll realize, we need 5.0s, and we need to have a joker sail and joker board for Pozo, you know. But I doubt it. I think it's going to be good racing, and if you start seeing people catapulting in 35 knots instead of 45, I think that's only better for the show.
You're right. I don't know what I'm on about. I should just shut up. Could be very good. Just say, Thomas is saying Pozo, will it be at the wave spot or by the performance? It'll be at the wave spot, as far as I know from previous PWA competitions.
Yeah, I think I would. Yeah, what I saw was that the first mark was more or less at the rock, at the. How do you call that rock?
It's like a little harbor. It is literally a little harbor, and the first mark is usually at the end of that sort of rock jetty, which is quite spectacular because it's bloody choppy there, and it is quite a sight, that first mark, as far as I remember.
Yeah, and the finish, I guess the finish is more or less where the wave sailors would launch, you know.
The finish is literally right where everyone launches back in the bay, and it's usually between a buoy and a place on land. So the finish guy is usually up in the Windsurfing International Centre, looking down the line against a buoy.
Yeah. So that's gonna be super fun. I think everybody, let's say, of the tour veterans is definitely looking forward to that. This is, it's my my mental coach. He's laughing at us because we kind of give way more value to these high wind events. It's just way more prestigious in a way among your peers. If you win Pozo or win Fuerte, that counts like double. That's the events you want to win.
I think that's totally true. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting, but it's 100% true.
Yeah, every sport has its culture. My mental coach, he comes from football, and he says football is like cars and bitching about the coaches. That's the culture. And he says our thing is gear and balls. Like because let's face it, racing in slalom racing in high wind, it does require some balls. Yeah. To push, to be right on the limit and stuff. Also foiling, also high wind foiling is the same. And I think that's why those events carry a little bit more of and they're physically way more tolling too. Like at the end of a 5-day event in the Canaries, you're barely walking, so so looking forward, Pozo and Fuerte, looking forward 100%. And then we have we go Silt. And after Silt, there is a chance, I don't know if I should say or not, maybe I'll get
hang on. There's no Fuerte.
No, I said Pozo and Fuerte. Okay. Yeah, Pozo and Fuerte. And then you have a bit of a break in August, and then you have Silt in September, end of September. And then there is a chance that there will be one more event, which is not on the calendar currently. And then Japan and New Caledonia as a double header, back-to-back finish, which is also amazing. Which New Caledonia, they had another shark attack, and officially the beaches are closed until very 1st of December.
Really?
Which now the organizers, they're trying to basically, get an exemption or deal with it somehow,
And that would help you sharpen up your jibes a little bit, wouldn't
it? Yeah. Unfortunately, there's it's not the first time that there's been a fatal. I don't know if this one's fatal, but a few years ago there was one fatal shark attack. So they're really taking care and struggling. And right now it's closed for water sport. All the beaches are closed and water sports are banned.
Okay.
Which is a shame because it's paradise.
But,
so that's the calendar, and well-rounded tour. But after those two first events, you'll have a pretty good picture. Who has a full package? Who's who's doing what? And
you've been obviously been training Tenerife. That's normal. You've been there every year for the last I don't know how long. A lot of the top guys are there. From what you've seen, who are the main contenders this year? Are we seeing any guys coming up? Are we seeing any new guys? Are we going to see the same names? Who's your tips? Give me a little bit of a rundown from what you've seen.
I think you take the top 10 of last year's ranking, and you just squeeze it closer.
Okay.
I feel I have better gear, a better package this year. Last year, I have to say that my sizes were quite spotty. Like, I had a really good 8-1 and 7-1, but the 6-1 and the 9-1, they were not so good. And so, so I kind of, and this year I feel pretty confident on every size. And then you have Matteo, which I think, which is, he's quite happy with the gear as well. And he's obviously the guy, if you had to pinpoint a well-rounded, like the well-rounded guys, it would probably be, him, hopefully myself, probably Pierre Mortefon. He's, their gear definitely improved. I think they were quite, they had some deficiencies in performance, those guys last year. And yeah, I mean, it's no way but up from there, I think, for Pierre and Jordi. And, it's the usual suspects. I mean, Enrico, he finished third last year. He's going to be, one of the fastest on the foil for sure. On the fin, in the past, he wasn't so consistent, maybe in high wind, but also super fast and stuff, who finished fourth? Amado, he just came off the speed worlds, finished second there. And yeah, he's definitely, definitely.
I mean, interesting. William Hubert won the speed worlds on the foil. He's on Phantom gear now.
Yeah. So that's definitely not bad, that gear. And speed is different. Speed is a bit different because you're going very downwind. And you need smaller wings, like 350 square cm, 360, I think they have Phantom. And I, for example, don't even have a wing like this.
Okay.
So, and you need a 4.5 sail, which the teams that are preparing mostly for PWA, like Neil Pry, like Severn, like Challenger, we kind of, we treat it as an extra, while Phantom is basically a foil brand. So they treat it. And a guy like William, he'll probably not register any fin gear, for the PWA, and he's going to try to do Pozo and Fuerte on the foil.
It could be a super interesting event, that one. I'm really looking forward to it. Who's your tips for Pozo? Because it is an interesting event, Pozo. We haven't seen it for 20 odd years or whatever it is, or 10, 15 years or something.
No idea, man. I like, who you mean, like sailor?
Like, you'd think sort of Pierre loves a bit of wind, doesn't he? Like, you'd think
Antoine Albo.
But that's what I mean. Is Antoine coming back?
Look,
I mean, he won the speed. I mean, for people who don't know, he just won the Speed World Championships, and he still beat all the younger guys coming up, and he still can't beat him. I think it's
every time I asked Antoine for the last 15 years how heavy he is, he would 99. Tell me 99 and put a little smirk, and you see like he's gained 5 kilos or lost, or it's like, hey, look light, I'm 99, and kind of laughing, yeah. And now when you asked him, like, he came to Tenerife and he's like, I'm retired, and gives you that same type of vibe, So
he ain't retired, is he? There's no way. Like, Antoine Albo, I don't think he's ever going to retire. It's.
I mean, it's.
He still feels he's got.
No, look, he's not going to do the full tour.
No.
He's not. He didn't register for Garda. But I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up to Pozo, and I would be quite surprised if he doesn't show up to Fuerte. Yeah, with exactly the right gear. With that's fun. I mean, he was there. Look, we were talking with the boys on WhatsApp, and like he was out there with us in 6 knots in Tenerife, pumping on 9 meter. If he's doing that, you think he's not gonna fucking show up to Fuerte, which is like his absolute favorite. I don't know what his record there is, but it's like Finian beat him once. In 2011, and the rest of the times I was there, he won.
Yeah.
So like
out of last, I cannot not see him doing Pozo or third. I just cannot. It just seems. I still think.
Well, the only thing is if he can physically, like, physically, it's if he wants to put that toll on his body, because it is a toll.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
You've seen his
I don't
legs.
know, you show up at Defi, and after those 3 days, I can barely walk, and he seems normal, so
Yeah.
I think it's just in him, and that type of physicality is just there, so yeah.
Give me some wild cards who could do well this year, who maybe haven't, or even guys that might step up into the top 10, like outside chances for a top 10, because the top three I feel it's kind of closed, but it's got very tight now with a few others, like Marotti's coming up. You see Johan So winning the odd race, which he could be an interesting prospect this year. Geordie, there's loads of guys who squeezed up to near that top 3. But what about top 10? Because we always go on about the top spots, but even top 10, that's not easy on the PWA. So are you seeing anyone maybe?
Yeah, I just pulled up the ranking, and 11th is Alex Cousin, who's been like, there or thereabout for just years and years, and he can, he could even win a race on the foil, and stuff. Now he will be on Patrick foils, so let's see how that goes. In 14th, you had William Hooper, which you mentioned. Definitely, definitely going with Phantom Gear is, in the foil only locations, that, that's helpful for sure. Basile Jacquin in 15, he was definitely not happy with 15th.
Yeah.
Finished 9th in Japan. Cedric Board in 17th. I mean, we've seen this guy for how many years? Antoine Castel finished 18th. Yeah, Antoine Castel finished 18th last year, and I can tell you, I've been testing with him in Tarifa. He's quick.
Yeah.
But he's also been never been slow, I guess. So yeah.
What about
Bruno Martini finished 22nd last year. Nico Preen.
Preen, yeah. What's he's going to do the tour this year? No, full tour.
I think so. That's what his intention is. I think
he's been in Tenerife training. How's he been looking? Get me the rundown.
He's obviously not like, it's funny, Tenerife, because you're like, fuck, I cannot, sometimes you're like, you go out on the wrong mast or whatever, like, fuck, I cannot win a race, and then you realize like the top 6 in the world are there, so it's like, maybe it's normal. I can't win a race with a shitty mast or so Nico, he's definitely improved throughout the winter. How much, it's really hard to judge off of Tenerife, because it's mostly rolling swell conditions. It's difficult conditions for foiling. Yes, we train in the harbor sometimes, and sometimes we get south wind, which is also flat water gusty. But it's very hard to judge. But top 10. I mean, why not? Look, I think what we always underappreciate. You say this guy's fast, this guy's slow, whatever. But I think the last 20% is performance at events. How you start, how you jibe, are you smart in tactics, and you see that with let's say younger guy like Amado in Japan. Was fucking flying. But he made a mistake here, a mistake there, and all of a sudden he's out of the race. And that comes with repetitions, I guess. And to some people it comes easier, to some people it comes harder. You think of Pierre and Matteo; they are like this since 10 years. That they are, kind of racing smart, consistent. Not. I remember Arnon saying, "This Pierre, he's not even that fast. He's just consistent and boring." Yeah, but that's what you need to be,
He's pretty quick, though, to be fair.
No, he's fucking fast. He's fucking fast. I just remember that.
What about that Johan Jewel, Lauren Jewel? I saw him at
Lohan Jewel. Yeah, you mean?
He's a young slalom guy. I'm guessing he's got some speed. Looking at the results down in
Marignan.
Marignan for the French, championships. That might be an interesting one, battle.
Yeah.
Foils. Let's talk about foils. Are you tied to any foil this year?
No.
You're
no,
a free.
no,
So I'm interested by this. So you've basically gone, which I think would have been my sort of take on it. I want to be open. I want to pick my favorite foil that suits me, rather than saying I am with this company, because if they haven't got the foil that suits you, I don't know. What's your take? I want to hear your thoughts on it.
My take is that I really believe in that I can develop something good if somebody, let's say, gives me the chance, and I have the right designer and the right, if the I think if you're really in bed with one company that's a top company with budget, with clever designers, maybe with some CFD, that kind of package, then I think it's an advantage. Okay. But as you say, tying yourself, let's say you're not a top guy on the team, you're not gonna get the best stuff, the really handpicked, the really the actual the main guy finishing the things by hand for you and whatever. If you're not able to get that, it's probably better to be a free agent.
Okay.
But then you're spending.
I was going to say, so it's got to be pretty expensive for you. Out of interest, if you can tell us, but I don't see why you wouldn't be able to, what foils have you gone for?
I don't know. I actually have some foils also coming to Garda. Tomorrow,
give me some brand name
tomorrow. Well, I have I have a Z foil which I raced last year, which there's some new sizes, which I trained on the entire winter. I have a Neil Pride in my van, but it's not a very good Neil Pride, so I'm most likely not going to use that. It's the last year's design anyway. This year's I couldn't really get. I have a Phantom coming. I think it's arriving today. Mind you, we're 6 days away from the contest, but this is how.
Yeah, is how.
Like you just couldn't get it earlier, so you get it, and in case it's like 3 knots faster than anything else, you race it. I tried a bunch of other foils which are maybe not that obvious, and maybe I'm not gonna say or whatever, because I don't want to say this is good or this is shit or whatever. But yeah, I think all cards on the table. I'm gonna probably decide between Z foil and Phantom.
Okay.
And yeah, let's see. As I mentioned, it's expensive. I'm paying basically the full price on most of those things. And
oh god, I have a question just on topic. So, Thomas, how many hours do you need on a foil to classify it as good or very good? It's an interesting question. That can you tell straight away?
You can tell straight away if it's crap or amazing.
Okay.
If it's somewhere in the the good to very good range, you need a few runs. You need to spend the day. You need to kind of get used to how it reacts, because certain foils have more power kicks, other foils have less. Like, let's say you hit a gust and a foil would react a certain way, okay. And you kind of need to train your body to actually get the most out of it.
Okay.
Some are more back-footed, some are more front-footed. Some need, the sail to push down a bit more. Some need the sail to free up the board. So then downhole comes into play, and outhole and things like that. So you need a little bit of time to realize, but actually, I'll start testing tomorrow, and probably, by the contest, I'll have a very good idea. The only thing is that you're only in Garda. Yeah. And that's just one place,
and you've got to register it for the year.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And the same with the fins, I'm guessing. Like, listening to that with the foils, it's very similar to the fins, but you probably already have your fins. I'm guessing you've got Carpenter fins. I could be wrong.
I got all the fins. Yeah, I got carpenter, I got finish fins, I got a lot of fins.
And there's no limit on windsurfing fins for slalom boards. There's no like a foil.
No.
There's
no. You don't register. You don't register fins. You don't register fins mostly, I think, due to the fact that they're easier to get and they're cheaper. You know.
But it's got to be impossible to what's the word, to legitimize it, like to tell if someone's used a different fin. I mean, they all look the same, don't they? It's pretty tiny measurements. I mean, you'd have to have some pretty expensive equipment to be able to tell if it was slightly different.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the times we bank on, you know, we're this community, and you hope everybody's respecting the rules. You know, you jump into it's like when we talked about when somebody says, the last year's world title is only 2 events, whatever, you know. But you jump into the thing, and you kind of, just by being there, you sort of accept the rules of being there. You know what I mean? Like if there's certain equipment rules, just the fact that sometimes they're checked, sometimes they're not checked, you know, and doesn't mean that you don't have to respect those rules. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
So yeah.
Question from Pavel: Are foils changed the parameters in time? Have the parameters changed?
I think he means two things. How have they changed throughout the years? Let's say. Yeah. Which the simple answer is they got smaller. They got smaller. You need more speed to ride them. They're faster top end. Let's say. We've gotten better as a community in riding, in foiling generally, you know.
Yeah.
So everybody can accept foils that are, but actually the foils gotten easier. Somehow they gotten smaller, but they gotten easier, you know, which is a bit of a paradox, but range has gotten better as well. It's And the other thing, what he might mean is how do a particular foil changes over time if you use it a lot. And this is something quite obvious, that every laminated piece of whatever is gonna soften up over time. It's just the way. And actually the stiffer the carbon, the more it gets, the more it degrades, you know.
Okay.
The softer stuff, it degrades less. But you know, like you feel it on if you really dig in deep. This actually doesn't affect so much on the, like, for regular Joes, let's say, for weekend punters and stuff. But even on masts, you know, like you feel it loses a little bit of response, a little bit of reflex over time. And these are quite soft things if you think how much they bend, you know. And with foils, which foils have to be basically the stiffest possible, almost. There's still different theories on that, but let's assume they have to be quite stiff. Then any type of degradation is definitely not wanted. But it's still not even, you know, still not even close to the degradation you get in IQ foil or whatever. The stuff, the PWA stuff, it's very, very good equipment, you know, right now, and it's quite easy. I think a person that foiled a little bit can jump onto slalom foil equipment and enjoy and have fun.
I'm gonna have to test that out, because I have definitely foiled a tiny bit at the moment, but I'm starting to get a little bit more interested. But I have to say, I went on the fin the other day, which I haven't done any blasting on a fin for a while, you know, in terms of flat water. We've got the flat water simmer shoot at the moment. And I have to say, it feels bloody good. Like blasting on the fin, just locked out, boards flying, even on the bigger gear. We had like a day yesterday at a beach up here, which is a bit crazy beach to actually do what we were doing, but there was waves coming in, but it was offshore. And it was pretty epic. I wouldn't have wanted to be on the foil. I got to be honest. It's a different feeling. I mean, I see the benefits of everything, and I think it has to be on the PWA. But yeah, I do want to see some fin racing. I've got to be honest.
No, for sure. Fin is still great, and it's still, people are like, oh, Fin is dead. It just needs to be windy,
Yeah.
And if it's windy, it's competitive. At one point it becomes better by far, but there's quite a big gap where the two can race together, and both can be competitive depending on on the situation, how you start, and whatever.
On a slightly different sort of angle, where do you think that's going? Do you think all this pushing from you boys on the foil is detrimental to windsurfing just in general? Because it is an interesting point. I've heard this from a few people, and you see it. The normal punter wants to go on the fin. At the high end, I get it. I see you boys, you like the Formula One, you're racing on the foil. I see it in the IQ foil. But then there's I feel like there's this gap, and I'm probably in that gap. I personally don't get that excited about slaloming around on a foil. But when I went on the fin the other day, I was buzzing. So it's and that's me. And I'd say I'm a reasonable sailor, all right. But I don't know if that was because we haven't got many foilers where I am. So maybe that does have a kind of a spin on it. But do you see the normal guy who goes to Lake Garda or to their local beach going into the foil kind of blasting range? Or do you... I mean, that's what
you see in Garda, you see a lot of people already doing it and loving it, you say you talk about yourself, but how much time did you actually spend foiling? You know what I mean? You jump on the fin, and you have a lot of you have a lot of experience, and you jump on there and you feel good straight away. And in foiling, you're trying to figure things out, which I think kills a lot of that excitement, because if you look at those punters, then they go winging. So what's the difference?
I get that. So, and this is my point.
So how do you get that? This really pisses me off. How do you get that people go winging as opposed to wind foiling?
I will tell you.
You're a windsurfer.
I will tell you. I'll 100% tell you, because I see it. So I see, and I've done a bit of winging, not loads. Again, not massive fan because of the conditions we get here. Kind of boring. After you've learnt the initial stages, I think you need softer waves to really get the most out of it. But I see why people do it, because foiling does access those lighter winds, those gustier winds, gets you up and going. But winging is easier. There's no two ways about it, because you don't have that connection from the mast to the board. The connection from the mast to the board creates this other problem, which so let's say you're a wave sailor, but you want to go out in lighter winds. I could see why you would wing, because it definitely feels more, it's easier. You haven't got something fixed. You can turn, you can do that. And I can see why a freestyler or a wave sailor could go winging. I can see why a free rider will, because it is less technical. Winging is easier, but that doesn't mean it's better.
It's for a windsurfer, it's not.
I can tell you now, it's easier. It really is easy. There is no two ways about it. When you fall off, you're not attached to it. So there is easier things, but I don't think easier is better.
It's much worse for falling off, because when the thing is attached, you can just hold on to the boom on the wind foil, on the windsurf foil. You can just hold on to the boom and you're safe. Nothing will happen. Whereas on the wing, the chance of getting hit by a foil, you know how many times I fell off the wing forward, catapulted, because the wing breached, the foil breached. You fall forward and the board just kind of has a little bit of momentum and just hits you, or you fall onto the foil because the foil goes to the leeward. The board goes to the leeward, and you end up hitting your ass straight on the wing that comes up. That happens with wind foiling. That doesn't happen, first of all. The main point here, and it pains me to say it, is that we, as in the windsurfing industry, I consider myself a part of the industry because I developed the gear and whatever. We did a fucking shit job, and we're still doing a shit job at educating people. And it's been like that for years, about slalom equipment, but now with foiling, you need more education, because to actually enjoy, you need the right angle of the mast in the board. You need the right angle of the tail wing. You need the right, like those, the foils you get for winging, most of them are plug and play, but most of them are fucking crap. They're slow they're like, I went winging the other day in Tarifa. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is like I'm dragging a bag,
Yeah, no.
Who wants to go this slow? So the windsurf foiling stuff is just straight away a little bit more high performance.
No, this is my point.
Therefore,
I don't think high performance is better. I'm not saying I'm not here or that. I'm just saying you're comparing it to, is it better? Is it high? It definitely is. Windsurfing.
No, but I'm saying that if I take you and I give you a winging thing, and I give you a nicely tuned free race, free ride, whatever windsurfing setup, you're gonna enjoy the windsurfing much better. But the words that I used, well tuned, are the key words,
But what am I going to do on it? It depends what you want to do. And I believe the wave sailors, the freestylers who go on the wing, I feel there's a little bit more freedom. Whereas I believe if you're a racer or you come from a blasting background, yes, the foil windsurfing is definitely more place. Although I will say this, I went on a shorter board, like a more freestyle orientated board with a kind of wave sail the other day on the shoot here. And that actually felt way more fun and safer, because I'm not going fast on the foil. I'm shitting myself, like in terms of you're higher up. And this is from me, who's pretty good. I can imagine if you're not that level of windsurfer, it must be quite terrifying on a foil. You haven't got that level of control.
But how come is it less terrifying on the wing? This I don't get.
Because when on the wing, for me, I don't go very fast. And this was the same when I was on this shortboard on the windsurf. Yeah, when I was on the shortboard on the windsurf, I felt really happy cruising. But when I was on the more slalom orientated stuff, I felt like I had to be freaking going. And I was like, I don't know if I want to be going this quick.
But look, this is but how many times this happened also when we were on fins, that people that didn't really, how many people with multi-fin waveboards that are just blasting around? How many people No,
that's what I'm saying. It's getting them
that are blasting. No, but that's not the point. The point is that we are doing a terrible job at educating the punters, And so, what does the windsurfing and what? Wait. And what does the windsurfing industry? Foiling comes around, and what does the industry do? Everybody jumps into producing wings, fucking OEM, shitty, just to make, few whatever, 100,000 euro or whatever, instead of like actually taking care of their core business. And and I hear brands saying like, oh, maybe we're gonna pull out of the racing because we're not selling so much. Yeah, your gear is shit. Sorry, you've spent all that time and money in winging because you wanted to make fast cash, and now like you realize that you missed out on 5 years of windsurfing, and you don't educate your customer. Your customer buys the stuff, goes to the shop, buys the stuff, goes to his local shop, which has brands, let's say A and B. He's used to this one brand. Your freeride gear used to be good, and now he buys your foil gear and it's fucking unusable, And then you're surprised that you're not selling, It's like it's crazy, you know. And now all the shops are stocked up with wing gear. Winging has plateaued, if it's going up, it's gonna plateau at some point. All the shops are fully stacked with wing stuff, you know, because it was growing and growing and growing. And now it's going to be hard to sell that. And again, those shops now, they cannot afford to stock up on windsurfing gear because they prioritize winging. You know, it's like, you call yourself the windsurfing industry, but, you know, are you? You know, and that's where you see the little small core brands really gain, you know.
But do you
because
feel
they
like, listening to you there, and I get what you're saying, but I still think maybe the fin side of it has been neglected for the average guy, because although I see you see the future as the foil, which I do get it, and I've been very bad at this because I never understood SUP, and then it went amazingly well. So maybe I'm the wrong person here, but I still see, and listening to Julian Ventilon, he's like, don't you miss racing on a big board in an 8.6? Maybe you don't, but I can see that. I was out racing the other day, and just the feel from the foil to the fin is different. There's no two ways about it. It's different. For racing,
it's totally different. It's totally different. And it's super cool in straight line, the fin. But we had a day in Paros last year in the IFCA Worlds where I was like, why can't I jibe planing on this big board and 8.6? And I will, you know, and then I went to the race and I was actually jibing good versus everybody. It just doesn't jibe that well, you know. It was like stop and go type slalom.
So, but you're talking, this is where I think the problem comes from. You're talking about racing. And for me, I love watching the foil racing in Japan. There's no way in the frigging world it would have been that exciting on a fin. It would have been like boring as anything. It would have been shit.
Oh, I was just answering to Julian's question.
Oh, sorry. But I'm just saying, like, for me, what I'm talking about is your average guy who goes down the beach and wants to go for a blast. I cannot see that guy unless it's really, really light winds, let's say. If it's 15 knots, like we get a lot of that here. If I've got the choice, and again, maybe I'm a bad example, but I would take the fin. There's a couple of reasons. One, it's like less hassle. Like, I know it's not that much hassle maybe to you, but to me, freaking hell, I've usually got the fin in my board that I go on if it's a fin. So it's in the van. I take it out, I put it on, I carry it down the beach quite easily. If I have to get the foil, I have to screw it all together, put it in the board, make sure it's the right angle or whatever, you know, you do. That's usually already trimmed. And then I have to carry the board down on its own. I have to come back, which is not that close. Come back, get the sail, take it in. If there's a shore break, I'm shitting myself because I'm like, even if there's like an angle shore break, I'm like, oh my God. And then I get out there and it's okay. I enjoy it. Then I have to do the same thing when I get back to the beach. I have to disconnect it, take it up, unscrew it all. And that sounds ridiculous to maybe someone like you. But to me, having to just take the board out and go down the beach, and when I come back, just slide it in the van, shut the doors, get in my wetsuit, and I'll literally just drive home. That is like really a lot of time if I haven't got a lot of time. And again, it sounds ridiculous maybe, but to me, it's quite a big deal, that. And it's
okay. Flip side
performance. It's more than the
flip side to it. It's like everybody fucking moans the way you just did. But if you have time, if your week has 5 hours of time to windsurf on the weekend,
yeah,
you don't go on the forecast. You just have time on the weekend.
Yeah.
If you have your 6.5 free race or free ride sail and your 77 whiteboard, what are the chances you're gonna windsurf?
Very good point.
With the foil, if you have a 6.5 and you have your 77 wide foil board and you have your foil, which, yes, it's a pain in the ass to screw it together, but if you have a van, you can easily keep it together. Just unscrew it once a month or whatever so it doesn't get stuck, you know. Put it like when you have your board racks, put the mast in so that the wings are kind of vertical. So you put it mast forward.
This is what I need to work out. This is a video.
So you keep your. Yeah, so this is what we're doing a bad job at communicating, and I would love to do it, but it's like, who's gonna, you know what I mean? Like, so you do that. So you screw it in exactly like a fin. Okay, you don't have it in, but you screw it in exactly like a fin. You go there, and if the wind dies by 8 knots, you're still foiling. If the wind picks up by 8 knots, you're still fine. The range is much bigger. The low end is much bigger. You don't stop in your jibes. Okay, at the beginning you're gonna fall, but once you learn to foil jibe, you're never gonna stop. It's not like how many people like basically get to the level of the planing jibe and then they kind of, and that's it, and they sometimes can do the planing jibe, sometimes not, and then it takes them ages. It's always light on the inside, so when you stop, it takes ages to think. And physically, windsurfing on a foil is half the effort. Yeah. Half, which can be an advantage or a disadvantage depending how you look on it. Because if you go there for fitness, like a fitness thing, it's maybe a disadvantage that the foil is half the thing. But if you want to go just to enjoy, it's cool, man. You can sail 3 hours without stopping and not be so dead,
So for me, like my differential, if I want to do a long distance race or go cruise and go check stuff out, I think it's quite interesting on the foil. I think it's nice, it's relaxing. But if I want to just go,
and what?
If I want to just go blasting up and down, which is what I enjoy doing, if I want to go racing, like if I go on a foil, I would shit myself that someone's going to run over me. Because at your level, in the professional, I get it. It's full on, but everyone's good. You imagine racing national level with guys that you don't know how good they are. I'd be scared shitless. But anyway, that's, again, there's no wrong or right here. It's just interesting because I think from high-end competition, I 100 get it. And actually, Thomas, I just seen a comment.
The main thing is why the fuck are we pitting the two against each other? Why?
They don't need to be. No, all I'm saying is that wasn't what I was trying to say. I'm just saying, where does it leave the fin? Does all this high-end racing, does it detract from promoting the fin as a stable for windsurfers? Do they then go, oh, well, they're not using it, we go winging, or we go, I don't know. That again, I haven't got the answer. It's just an interesting one for me because I'm literally doing a flat water shoot now. And it's been a while since I've been on free ride, free race gear. And I just sometimes.
But how a contest at Hokipa, how is that connected? We promote windsurfing.
Yeah, it is connected.
We're sharing the stoke, and we're kind of showing people what's possible at the highest level. Our aim is the aim of the Pro Tour is not to grab somebody by the hand and bring him to the beach. That's somewhere else. That's in the internet. That's on YouTube. That's for the manufacturers. That's, we have to take responsibility, as I say, as the industry, as the community. We have to stop with this fucking. When I see comments I just don't get it. Like I wonder what you have to have in your head to see a foiling picture on Instagram and put a comment, fin is better, or foiling is shit, or whatever. Like how small you have to feel,
I think probably it's a frustration.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it,
I do.
But there's room for everything.
No, I agree.
The world is such a big place.
I agree.
Why are we pitting ourselves against each other in this small sport, Like
I agree, but I would say, and I don't condone that. I think it is a bit ridiculous, but I think it's a frustration, and they're probably, I don't know, maybe getting older. They've been doing fin for ages. They still love it, and they see maybe people going away from it, and maybe there's less people for them to sail with, and the other people are talking about foils, and they're kind of losing their thing, and they don't want to go with it because they don't, and I could see there's a type of person like that. And maybe it's a frustration thing, which is,
they don't feel taken care of. They don't feel taken care of
yes,
because the windsurfing industry is not taking care of them. We need to do a better job of taking care of our base. If it's
yes,
the fin guy, we
agreed.
need to give him attention and help him tune his fin and help him do that. If it's somebody that wants to transition into foiling, but I see there is so many people, and this is not this is just an observation. I try to zoom out as much as I can and observe. And I see there is so many people that are very locked into their views, meaning, for example, they they love foiling or they love upwind downwind racing.
Yeah.
And they trying to convince everybody that this is the best and everything else is shit, but let's be inclusive, and I see, like in Poland, for example, we have the dominant, the national tour is dominated by course racing, and okay, great, but let's have slalom too. Let's do other things too. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with course racing, but you can take the same foil and go slalom, like in the afternoon or whatever, you know what I mean? And so I've been pushing that, and we've been starting to do that, and everybody's loving it, and it's like there's just different, different strokes for different folks, different.
Yeah. But I totally agree. Horses for courses and all that, and that is how it is, I think. And Thomas has said it. There's a few other people have said it. Adrian says it here. If I lived in a place with low wind, I'm 100% foil, but I don't. So you probably don't need to. And again, it's
exactly,
the same
as long as you're smiling, you're doing it right. And it's like, I don't go to a wave sailing place, go wave sailing, and I don't see people commenting, "Oh, slalom is better," or whatever.
That's different. It's different. It's different.
But you see that, for example, with PWA and Olympics, like the Olympic world will tell you PWA is shit, and the PWA world will tell you, Olympics are.
I don't think so. I think
no, but there's so many. But why do we have to I don't understand. Why do people think?
I'll tell you why. Because I feel anyway, and again, this might be totally wrong, but you just said it pretty much, that maybe the fin guy is feeling a bit neglected. And I could see this, right? The brands have gone full wing, we're gonna, because it's quick cash. If you've got to get your name established at the beginning of any sport. So I guess why people have done that, and that helps stabilize their company, everything, But the problem, and they've gone full foil because they want to be winning PWA. That's the high end of racing. It's the top. So then there's this middle bit, which feels like, oh, what? We kind of been left behind here. No one's kind of got, and it feels like people have left it, which they haven't, because it's still the biggest part of our sport. If you look at what people sell and the most used stuff, it is that free ride kind of market on the fin. So I don't know. I think it comes from that type of place where maybe they feel like.
And I with what we're talking about, I feel frustrated because a lot of the the brands, like as you say, everybody jumped onto winging, and I feel like we're not using actually the full potential of windsurfing, especially foiling. I feel like there's this new thing in our sport, and it's crazy. We had our podcast with Craig Gertenbach, I see him in Garda and he's winging, and that sends a message, Yeah. I mean, he's the brand manager of the wing thing. That's a bad example. Actually, that's a bad example, But
that is his job.
That's also his job, But what I'm trying to say is that I think we have a lot more potential as a sport than what we're showing. And it takes a bunch of people that believe in it to kind of move it forward. Because if you start just doing it for the Excel sheet, I listen to when I drive, I listen to podcasts and stuff. And lately, I've been on a little business trip, like going, into business stuff and whatever. Not one billionaire says he does it for the money. You know what I mean? So the Excel sheet is just a bad advisor,
Yeah.
Like if money is your driver, you're not gonna get fucking anywhere in life. Money comes later, like we talked about. I didn't fucking start windsurfing for money. I'm going on a trip somewhere, I'm going on a trip right now, but what I mean is, like, fucking windsurfing is sick, windsurfing is amazing, and it's time to showcase that and try to use that potential to the fullest, and bring people in and show them all the options, let them choose their options, show them everything's possible, whatever they want to do. There's room for everybody. It's probably the most diverse sport in the world. I don't know any other sport that has a sick racing discipline and a sick free discipline, meaning like, and there's room, and it's connected to recreational stuff too. Look at a lot of the other sports. Look at, a lot of the high-end sports you watch on TV. It's not, fucking ski jumping is huge in Poland. How's that connected to anything, So, it's a great sport, and it's time we just use the full potential of it, rather than pitting ourselves against each other. Your mic is muted. Ben, your mic is muted, or I can't hear you.
Hello? There we go.
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I think it is all connected, and I think winging is part of windsurfing. It's very, very similar. Like like we can't just close our eyes and just go, nah, it's rubbish, because I know so many of my friends, so many windsurfers have gone into winging. Craig Gertenbach, like you say, they're not doing it just because, I don't know, they're doing it because they enjoy it. So it is a very good crossover. It's brought a lot of windsurfers that I know back to the beach. Like, honestly, it has brought people back to the beach. And my hot take on this, or whatever they call it on YouTube, or I think if you've been a surfer, like I've seen a surfer here in Sagres who got into winging because he was bored of paddling around and getting 4 waves a session. And then now he's winging, he's scoring like every run, flat water, but every
Great
run,
for him. Great.
Every run is a run. But my theory on this is, what do you do after winging? Where's the progression? You know what it is? It's windsurfing. Honestly, I really feel like once you've mastered the foil, as you said before, once you do it, you're playing every jibe. It's fucking boring. It's easy. Once you've got the trim, it's actually easy. But actually, the most difficult one is windsurfing. And difficult is not bad. Hard is not bad. I actually think it's more rewarding. I get way more reward jibing a fin than I do on my foil. And I can foil jibe pretty decent. But when I do a fin jibe, you've got to get every little duck lined up, and it feels like bang. And I think, me personally, we need to get people into the sport, and it could be through winging, could be whatever. But the progression is windsurfing. I honestly believe that. And people laugh at me when I've said it before. I believe it 100%. 100%. You will see wingers in the future transitioning to windsurfing, because winging on a wave in most wave conditions would be horrendous, dangerous, just horrible, unless you're one of the top guys. But actually windsurfing or cruising, or, I can see it totally being like that. That's what I think.
Yeah, winging's great too. Nothing against people going winging. I just cringe when I hear like, oh, wind foiling is such a hassle, but wing foiling, you change one letter, it's so nice and easy. Like, that's just ridiculous. That goes against facts, you know? That goes just against physics, because it's just not true that one is super easy and the other one is super hard, you know? It's not.
I don't think that. I think I do think winging is a little bit more reactive, like the way your body moves and stuff. I think that's why it looks crap, to be fair. There is a joke, which I'm not sure I can say. Maybe I'll change the joke. So there was a joke, is what's the similarities between a scooter, riding a scooter, and a no, I can't say it. Actually, I can't tell you that joke. Anyway, there's a joke that.
Oh, you're scared of the political correct thing again?
I'll tell you the punchline. The punchline is they're both fun until your mates see you riding on it. You know, like, and the fact is, it feels a lot better than it looks winging. You know, and again, that's just a different take on it. But what was I going with that? I got sidetracked. No, like I said, whatever. I do think it's easier. I think
it shows the fact that we've been talking about it for 40 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. Foiling in general shows you that there is interest and that there is energy behind it, and we just need to streamline that energy into the right place, rather than like, you know, it's the disease of the windsurfing thing is like taking bigger piece of the pie rather than growing the pie, you know. And it's the same thing, you know, like fin versus foil and this, and pitting against each other, and then whereas this wing thing, it's actually not that different from windsurf foiling, but it's on the side, it's something new, it doesn't carry all that baggage, you know. Your fin mates will not tell you that you're an idiot because you're going foiling, because you don't have any fin mates. Probably you came from kiting, or you came from, maybe you're totally new, you know. And this just shows, it's, as you say, it's basically windsurfing, the thing, you know. And it just shows that it's not about the gear. It's not about if you downhaul or you pump. It's not about all this. It's about the attitude behind it. We've gotten old, we've gotten grumpy, we've gotten picky, we've gotten freaking, you know, like negative, you know. Let's just change the narrative around our sport, within our sport, you know. How do we expect to grow if within we're just so conflicted, you know, like this fin versus foil?
I don't think it's so clear within the sport, and that's why I think we are conflicted, because it isn't clear. It isn't clear what direction to go in. And then wings just added this new dimension. But as you can see there from Boris saying, in Mallorca, people are 100% on wing. Fin Salem has practically disappeared, and windsurf foil hardly sells. And I think, you know, whether we want to agree or not agree, that's the facts, because I'm seeing it as well. You know, there is a lot of interest in wing at the moment. For me personally, it's just easier logistically, like literally to walk down the beach with it is easier. I know that sounds pretty stupid, but you need less gear. You could have two wings. I think they're way overpriced, if I'm honest with you, for a bit of bloody spinnaker material. But in terms of racing, what you boys are doing is just next level. I freaking 100% enjoy watching the racing. I think it is next level extreme. I don't know. And all I'm saying is that gap between that end of the racing and the normal guy, I don't think we're that clear where it is. And do we need to be clear? Why do we need to be clear? You know, everyone's got their own things. But I still believe, as I said before, the more people get into winging, the more people will transition to windsurf in the future. And I honestly believe that will happen.
We just need to show, you know, we just need to show what there is, you know, we just need to show what there is, what is possible, which actual board, fin, foil, whatever, what is for who, what do you get out of that experience, and all that, you know. Like windsurfing marketing for years has been, you know, faster, better planing, easier jibing, you know. But I think we need to change windsurfing marketing to how to do this, how to do that, how to actually trim your foil. What do you choose if you live in a shallow lake? What do you choose if you live in gusty conditions? What do you choose if you live in Martinhal in Portugal? Not to mention that there's a broader water sports discussion also, that we're also pitting, kiting against windsurfing and windsurfing against rigging and all
just
that.
On a side note,
which actually all the biggest brands are in all those sports. So it's actually in our interest. It's actually totally in our interest to create education across those water sports. So let's say you're a 9 to 5 person. You have this amount of time. You live in those kind of conditions, or you go on a trip. Which sport do you choose? You know what I mean? And when I see, actually, like in Poland, all the most hardcore, like not hardcore, but all the kiters that I know, the kind of local, beach heroes and stuff, they went into winging.
Yeah.
So there has to be something that is driving them. What is it? How do you know what I mean? So I just think there's a lot to be done in education and in kind of, for people to understand, because so many times, people just text me about something and what is said on their local beach is total BS, because somebody said it and then somebody repeats it, and you just create this bad, kind of bad education, and yeah.
Well, I'll say, interestingly, I had this thought the other day as I was doing a bit of a free ride cruise, and then the next day there was no wind. Me and Alessio, we took the beginner gear, and we went out round the island, and it was literally no wind. And we were out there like having a right laugh, and I was like, maybe we are pitching it to the wrong thing, because it literally is the cheapest form of sailing, like actual sailing, not planing, but actually just moving around, going places, doing stuff like you would on a sup. And it was way better than a sup, because you were actually sailing with a tiny bit of wind. And it was just, for me, it was like a real eye-opener. I just thought, it was just ridiculous seeing how long I've been windsurfing, but I just thought, this is actually pretty cool. Like, just
so our sport has that. Our sport has Philip Koster doing a push forward, and our sport has cruising around the island as the cheapest form of sailing. Our sport has freaking Enrico and Goyard racing, head to head at 35 knots in Japan. And our sport has freaking Baltz Muller doing double Hercules. Our sport has so many things that are just so amazing that it's there. We just need to use it. Okay.
Well, I'm going to end on one thing. How's your team getting on?
My team?
Yeah. We did some team picking. Me, you, going back. Albo's just won the World Speed Championships.
Well, the PWA starts. The PWA starts in 1 week.
Videos every week.
The PWA starts in 1 week. Let's see. Who did I have on my team from the Wave guys? I had Brasinho. He's co-leading the world tour.
He's doing
yeah. So yeah. I'll be fine. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, we're going to do a catch up on that in a bit, mate. I'm going to go. Wind is picking up.
Yeah.
We've got some shooting to do.
Yeah, I gotta go as well, pack and stuff. Sorry for going on a bender, but you led me there. We were supposed to talk about the tour, and we ended up talking about Finn.
We talked about the tour. We did the tour. I think it's all interesting chat. All right, mate. Good luck. I'll see you in Garda, because I'm going to be there doing the live stream. So if you are watching this, tune in to the PWA live stream next week. Lake Garda, kicking off the slalom tour. Maciek is going to regain the title, going in as the favourite. You've got to be if you're the world champ. So it's going to be a very interesting one. As Maciek said, probably big to medium gear if they're lucky. Should be interesting. Should be interesting.
It's going to be good close racing for sure.
All right. Well, I will see you over there.
Right on. See you.